Welcome back to the You're Not Broken podcast. This is me and my friends talking about Heated Rivalry, episode 2. And we started the conversation thinking, what's everybody going to do once they've retired from professional hockey? So what do we think Hayden's going to do?
Have no personality.
He's going to be a realtor. No offense to realtors.
He's just going to talk. He's just going to talk about how he used to play hockey for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Dude, he is going to put himself into his kids' hockey career.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he's going to be. He's going to be the coach. He's going to be
Maybe he's a coach. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Maybe he's a coach at the hockey
and
school.
Then the next generation, his son is going to fuck a boy.
For sure.
Just like,
dude, so have you read the data? The more brothers you have that are older than you, older brothers, the more likely you are to be gay. Have you seen that data?
A statistic probability or something?
Yeah, well, they're like, statistically speaking, the more older brothers you have, the more likely you are to be gay. And there's some sort of biologic reason in this, and I can't remember it. So now I sound like I'm making shit up.
I have one older brother, and I'm now identifying as a gay man after watching Heated Rivalry. So wait,
last episode you were identifying as a teenage boy, Rachel. Things are moving.
I'm a teenage boy
pretty
who's
fast.
coming out of the closet.
Well, like I said, in my office, we're all wanting to be gay men. That is like from watching this, like that is what we want, and all the butts. That's what.
Well, I am the oldest brother, so I don't know what happened in my family. My younger brother is not gay.
Well, people fall outside of the mean all the time.
N of one, Josh.
Yeah, N of one.
Right. I'm the outlier.
So like we said last time, this is not individual medical advice. We are all urologists. We are all obsessed with this episode. This show, if you haven't gone back and listened to episode 1, please do that, or you're just going to be like, what the hell are they talking about? But in the first episode, we get into like how we got into the show, and we're going to do 6 episodes to correlate with the 6 episodes of Heated Rivalry, which we all are obsessed with.
So did anybody, Josh, I haven't finished the podcast that you said you listened to of the straight hockey players talking about every episode of Heated Rivalry. Did you listen to it? I
didn't listen to all of them. I just saw clips of it. Yeah.
I heard the first one, but like
I listened to the episode Rachel sent me. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, there's like, they do like what we're doing, but they're hockey players. And then
they loved it.
They loved it, but they get into the weeds of like all the things that are wrong, like how they refer to everybody as their last name of like, oh, Rosenoff, oh, right. Oh, Hollander, fuck Hollander.
That's what surgeons do. That's what we did in our training. We're all our last names.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair.
What episode? We're jumping ahead.
Residency. We did not
in your residency?
Let's not talk about your guys'
in fact,
residency.
in my residency, we called all the attendings by their first name also, which was apparently not normal.
There was a lot not normal.
There's a lot about not
training
normal
in
your
the
residencies.
That could be a whole podcast, you guys. That could be a whole podcast.
We had a whole conversation about this.
A trauma podcast.
It's so traumatic.
We'll bring BYO therapists.
Yes.
Wait, what was your question, Kelly?
Well, my question is, do you remember what episode where Hollander and Rosenoff started first calling each other by their first name? Because it was during sex.
It's not in the episode we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah, it's not episode 2.
It's later.
Okay, it's later. So stay tuned for that. Okay. So Heated Rivalry episode number 2 is titled Olympians, and it starts with them the summer after So the awards season is kind of in the summer, and that's where they had that awful split at the end of episode 1. But episode 2 starts with them running in summer. Shane's in Montreal, Ilya's in Moscow. It's summer 2011, and they're texting each other.
Oh, the texting is the best.
It is good.
You notice that their cell phones they're very because this started in 2008, right? And the first time I watched it, I was like, why is Shane talking about what YouTube is? Right? And I was like, oh, because it's 2008. Yeah. But yeah, their phones mature, or like they are year appropriate.
Well, I was going to say, actually, getting kind of the interplay between medical topics and this show, I was going to say Shane is the type of guy, right? Because in episode 2, he loses his anal virginity, and he is the type of guy that would have been taking PrEP, in my opinion, because he's too perfect and like dots all his I's and crosses his T's. But then I was thinking, I don't think PrEP was standard in like 2011, which is crazy, right? So for people who listening, right, PrEP is like when you take basically HIV prophylaxis. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that, but he knows that Ilya is a man who's had sex with other men and like is.
Well, he
also
makes him wear a condom.
He whips out condoms.
Yes, which is good. Yes. But
how does condoms work in the gay culture? Like, is it frowned upon?
Oh, no one uses them anymore.
So condoms are, because of PrEP, no one uses condoms?
Yeah, which is obviously
you can still get warts.
You can still get gonorrhea. It only prevents HIV. Yeah, you can get everything else other than HIV. But I think I think that's what people, HIV is what people feared contracting the most from sex, and so they're willing to put up with the risk of getting like gonorrhea or chlamydia because those are like treatable with antibiotics.
Is it thought that condom sex, anal sex, feels worse than non-condomless anal sex?
I think if you polled everyone, they would say that condomless sex is better than condomed sex. But I think that there's also this like, there's this, not like a culture, but I think it's with the advent of PrEP, there's now this like new thing where people want to be ejaculated inside of them, right? Because that for so long was like you couldn't, because like you could die from something like that, right? So now it's sort of swung the opposite way where people like really enjoy that and seek that out as part of the sexual experience. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the rate of transmission of other STIs has gone up dramatically since the advent of PrEP.
I was thinking about that adjacent when I was rewatching this, because I was like, for 1 millisecond, I was like, they don't have to worry about getting pregnant.
But you could get
many other things.
Yeah.
This is actually funny. So this girl I knew in college, she was very against quote unquote, sex before marriage.
Oh, I hope she's listening.
Yeah, and so the funny thing is, though, because of that, she would have anal sex, which like we all just ridiculed her for. But anyway, we called her nickname was anything but sex. She would have anything but sex,
oh my god!
And it was just why
you don't have the stand-up career, Ashley? Why your husband has the stand-up career and you don't have the stand-up career?
Fucking hilarious.
Continue to mystify me for the rest of our lives.
So funny.
I went to Catholic high school, and there were many girls that I went to high school with who were good Catholic girls and did not want to have vaginal sex before marriage and would have anal sex with their boyfriends.
I have very few memories from residency, but my intern year, I have a memory of being in the clinic, the colorectal clinic, and this woman, very rich, well-to-do, fancy Georgetown lady, is sitting there, and she has like a positive HPV, anal swab, something that they found. And the very awkward doctor is like asking her about anal sex. And I remember her looking at him and go, "Oh, honey, I haven't done that for years." And it was just like this amazing moment of this older lady talking about her prior anal sex. And I was so proud of them all for talking about it.
Well, what percentage of heterosexual females being the bottom anal sex do they prep or cleanse the rectum? Like, is that ever even talked about? We're all shaking our heads no.
Just as my experience as a straight woman, like usually when that's broached, it's like some guy really wanting
in the moment.
Like it was me in my 20s, and like there was like drinking, and there was like, do you want to do this? Like, and him trying to convince you to do it, and like, of course you hadn't prepped your anus and rectum because like you didn't want to do it
because you have a vagina.
Were trying to convince you to, and like. So no, I wouldn't have like prepped for something I didn't want to do that they were going to. But wait,
go back to okay. So Josh, say like you're not prepped and you want to bottom and have anal sex, not you specifically, but anybody in that situation. What's the worst thing that happens? You get some poop on the penis. You get some poop on it smells like poop, which is kind of gross smell. But like what like in terms of like. Does that, like, we think about urine, we're all urologists, right? All four of us urologists. And we talk about pee as like not hurting anybody, right? If a man ejaculates and pee comes out, who cares? If a woman pees when she orgasms, awesome, put a towel down, like who cares? What's the kind of the gross factor
I think that's,
other than?
It's just poop. Yeah. I mean, it just smells like poop. And if you pull out, there could be some on your dick, and people can be weirded out by that. I think it's, it depends on like the situation. Like I think couples who have sex pretty regularly, I think, are less concerned than somebody who's like, going out on a Saturday night hoping that they're going to find someone to hook up with, like who identifies as a bottom, is probably going to prepare themselves with the anticipation or the hope that they will be able to have sex with someone later.
But then wouldn't this be like condoms would be cool here? Because then you're not getting, then you just like for cleanup purposes, condom seems like a smart idea there.
Yeah, but I think it's also like just more like the smell. I think it's the whole thing. And you also have to remember, like in gay world, like hookup app culture is like a real thing, right? So like if you're on the apps finding partners, you know what you're getting yourself into in most cases, right? That person's going to be over in 15 minutes, so you better get ready. Sort of situation.
Can you get ready within 15 minutes? Is that like, is time like your friend who does the belly rubs from last episode? Like, can he do it? Can he get ready in 15? Can we call him right now?
He is a professional. He can get ready on vacation at
Does that make him a power bottom? Like, is power bottom? Like, is that what that's referring to?
And I think he would wear that badge proudly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, which maybe is a very stupid question, but like, okay, in an app, everything's out there, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you are just in a club environment and you are somebody who does define yourself solely as a top or solely as a bottom. Like, when do you communicate that with a potential sexual partner, right? Like,
yeah.
But let's take that even a step back. How do you even know who's gay?
Well, let's say you're at a gay club. And
okay, well, fine, we're at a gay club.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these are all good questions, but I think this also kind of goes back to what the show does really well, is that there are sometimes a lot of nonverbal cues that happen between gay men, even in straight spaces, right? Like people joke of it as like being gaydar, right? Like where we just kind of know when someone else is gay, like you know when another gay man walks in the room, you can just sort of sense it, or there's like a glance that like you give each other that straight men don't do. Like they don't have that part of their brain to do that. Like when a straight man walks in a room, the first person that he looks at is not going to probably be another man. And so there's this like nonverbal communication that can happen between gay men to sort of signify we're on the same team. And then your question, I think, is an extension of that. I think it's sort of like what Ilya does with like you wouldn't necessarily know that Ilya is going to top Shane in that moment, but there's things where he like sort of takes control and like turns him over and like, you know what I mean, acts a certain way to communicate that that's what he wants. So I think that it's a lot of that sort of gesture, nonverbal communication.
What happens if there's a genital mismatch?
It depends on how horny the people are. I think some people are like, well, it's not normally my thing, but I'll do it. But there are people that are very rigid in those categories and would then sort of move on to the next person.
I think there's genital mismatch in heterosexual couples all the time. And then the woman just thinks she's broken. Instead of like, you might be like a 4'11" small vaginaed person trying to do it with somebody who's absolutely above the bell curve, and the woman's like 10 times out of 10 is like, I failed. I actually had this is probably like a year ago. I was talking about this, and somebody wrote in to tell me like this was the high school loves of their lives broke up because of genital mismatch, and she heard on my podcast like, oh yeah, it's a thing, and they were like, oh my god, they had recently like reconnected, realized what they had done. She thought it was all her fault because he didn't fit, and he was just like huge. Right. And it's like soul crushingly, so like just a little bit of sex ed for people of like, not everything matches up all the time.
I love what did they do? Genital mismatch. I think it's beautiful.
What do they do? They're like older now and like talking because like both their spouses had died.
Yeah.
Like very, hopefully a very sweet ending to this, or hopefully she's on vaginal estrogen and it's a very sweet ending to the story.
Yeah. Or they just have like a lot of oral sex or something.
Right.
Well, that's the other thing. So so this is the sex episode, right? Like they actually have sex for the first time this episode, which I think there's a couple things that are like so mind blowing to straight people. The first being the thing everyone's talking about is like the fact that they are face to face having sex, right? That it's a missionary style sex position. And every straight woman who's not a urologist is sitting there saying like, how is that anatomy happening? Like what is happening there?
Well, he lifts his legs, right? He like pulls his legs up like that to get the right angle.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing I want to talk about is why, when they give each other blowjobs in episode 1, is it super quick, and then they have sex for like a really long time with many positions. Like, can you talk to me about ejaculatory latency time, please?
I didn't think their sex was that long.
What's that?
I mean, they're in several positions and move around a lot, and there's different shots. So it gives the guys that it's actually a longer situation as opposed to a very short. So I do think people want to hear, and we can talk about the data, but you know, sort of what is average, what happens? Is it always the same amount of time? Is it longer? Is it shorter? That sort of thing.
I would say, I think in episode 1, the blowjob scene happens very quickly. Like I don't think most guys. Maybe it was because it was Shane's first time. He was probably just like so aroused and so excited. Like I could imagine him ejaculating quickly. But I don't think that's normal. Like I thought that was like pretty quick. I think with anal sex, it's just like vaginal sex. You can, you know, if you're getting close to the point of ejaculation, you can just sort of stop, change positions, and then continue to have sex for longer. So I think that was more realistic than the sort of quick coming from the blowjob.
Another question, sorry to get graphic here, but the anal sphincter is obviously much tighter than the vaginal canal. And so when anal sex is happening, are you completely exiting and then entering, and then
Not usually.
or do you stay in and then move around a bunch?
Stay in mostly and move around a bunch.
Because I imagine that initial push through that first sphincter is not that easy.
The hardest part, yeah.
And you need a rigid erection, which is why people who have erectile dysfunction, right? It's a really big challenge to get through that anal sphincter. Go ahead, Ashley.
Exactly, yeah.
Obviously, like when you're bottoming, obviously the prostate is erogenous and leads to extremely pleasurable sensation and everything, but is the average person who's bottoming having to have their penis stimulated as well, or are they orgasming from the prostate stimulation?
So Shane gets off hands-free, and Ilya talks about that, like when he's teasing him in the stairway.
That's what he's talking about.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So can you talk us through
talk us through that.
So I would say I don't think that's very common. And I think it depends on the person who is bottoming as to whether or not they
hit the G-spot?
Want their penis stimulated. Because there are some bottoms who will be like flaccid while they're getting penetrated. And there are other bottoms who become incredibly aroused and are very erect when they're being topped, right? There are some people who like bottoming and don't care about ejaculating. It's more sort of like giving pleasure to their partner. And then this whole idea of sort of hands-free, like getting off hands-free is like, I guess like seen as like out of this world, because like how, as like a man, you can't imagine like being able to be so aroused through, you know, prostate stimulation that you're able to get an erection and ejaculate without touching yourself at all. So Ilya's clearly a very good lover.
Shane is like so turned on by Ilya though.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, so are we all. Like, let's be real. Like, America is also very turned on by Ilya. He is like the hottest. He just like really speaks to all of us. But so, you know, so I think this is really important to talk about, because we talk about, you know, women come to see us all the time and say, oh, I can't orgasm from penetration. I'm broken. I can't orgasm from penetration. And as we know, right, men don't typically orgasm from anything other than penis stimulation, right? It's this rare occurrence that you can orgasm from prostate stimulation or sort of another way. It's not impossible, but it's pretty unlikely. It's kind of like a unicorn situation. And so it's really important as we teach women their own body parts to be like, think of this as a penis. Your clitoris is how would you stimulate it if it were, if it were someone's penis? And like getting them in their mindset of like, it's the same body part, and like, how do we get it to work fully? And I think it's so important because, again, it's this hands-free orgasm seems sort of a little bit. Would you say that
it's
maybe
the Hollywood version?
Is this a Hollywood version of the orgasm from penetration? Should we be
kind
mad?
of. I think
should
so.
we be mad at Jacob Tierney for that moment?
No, I think it's supposed to signify that, like, number one, Ilya is an experienced lover, and number two, that Shane is so incredibly aroused from the sex that he's having with this man that he doesn't even have to touch himself to get off. But I would say in the real world, that's not very common.
Can we take a break for it? Can we take a quick pause and talk about the fact that Josh and I are in a movie directed by Jacob Tierney's best friend, and it comes out on Friday?
Can we well, it's going to come out like it's already come out by the time people are listening to this. Can we talk about, I'm going to pull down my card. Can I tell you that I talked to her today on my podcast?
Oh my God. How did it go? Isn't she amazing?
Yeah, it was great. I interviewed the producers and the director and Cindy. I was like 4 of them, and then for my podcast earlier today. And the whole time I was like, Rachel Rubin, I'm talking to Jacob Tierney's best friend right now.
Oh my God. Did you
talk
about
Heated
Rivalry?
All the professionalness of me, I did not bring him up.
Oh man, you are
I did not ask for favors.
You are so you're so put together. I'm so impressed with you. I have no shame.
So people know what we're talking about. The Pink Pill. It's out on Paramount Plus. It is the story of Addie Flibanserin getting FDA approved, and it is heartwarming and amazing and inspiring and a effing slog.
Yeah,
because
they don't quit, and it takes forever to get this done.
It's very well produced. It's a very good
documentary. The movie's not a slog. What they had to do to get this thing FDA approved was a slog.
And the point being, the director of this movie is best friends with the director of Heated Rivalry, which means that Josh and I might as well have been in the cottage ourselves.
I mean, we should probably be brought on as medical
intimacy consultants.
Yeah, or just like medical advisors to the second season.
Can we be vibers? Like, just given the vibe.
Like I feel like I should be sort of going over with the actors how the gay sex should be represented on screen.
I think Josh would be excellent in this role, and I think Rachel would just be like giggling. I
just want to watch. I just want to be in the corner. I just want to be the creepy guy in the corner.
Josh will actually be doing the work.
You'd just be like, oil the abs more.
I have nothing to add. I have nothing to add, but just claps, just clapping, just clapping. Sorry,
I was a medical advisor once on a movie.
You were?
You were? It had like Kristen Stewart in it, and Glenn Close, and
she's your doppelganger, not Glenn Close.
Kristen Stewart. That's very nice of you. That's
totally
not Glenn Close.
Oh, and the guy from Law and Order. What's his face? The lawyer guy. With the
How did it go, Ashley? Do tell.
It was awesome. It was like I got paid, and I showed up at this like place in, I think, I forgot where in New York it was. It was when I was in residency, and I was on like my research time, and I forget who it was like, they're shooting this movie. You can look it up. The movie's called Anesthesia, and they needed like cheap doctors to like be on set and be like, this looks medically appropriate, this doesn't look medically appropriate, and like residents were cheap labor. And so like I forget what I got paid, but it was like garbage, but it was amazing because like at one point, God, what's the guy's name? The Law and Order guy.
Chris something? Chris?
No, you're thinking Chris.
No. But he was like supposed to be in a coma, and then they just had him with like a little nasal cannula, and I'm like, you don't have a GCS score of like 6 and be sitting there with a nasal cannula.
Sam Waterston.
You're welcome. And so I literally took like they had all this medical stuff, and so I took like an ET tube and I trimmed it and like made him put it in his mouth and like pretend it was going down his throat, and obviously it was trimmed, and then like, and I was like putting tape all over his face.
Sam Waterston? You touched Sam Waterston?
I put tape all over Sam Waterston's face, and I was like,
fucking
I love you, you're awesome. And
why is that not on your CV? That should be on your CV.
Yeah, probably. And
I would have hired you. I know I did hire you, but like I would definitely have hired you if I knew Sam Waterston was like on your fingertips.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. But if it had been sex, that would have been cooler. Yeah.
Can we talk about Svetlana? Can we talk about Svetlana? Because we didn't mention her, and she ends up episode 1.
So we meet Svetlana in episode 1, and she pops up again during the Sochi Winter Olympics in 2014 because she's in Russia at that time, and she bounces back between Boston and Moscow also.
Because like they try to make her as like this bad character, and she is a fucking perfect character. Like who tries to make her a bad
character?
No, I mean like at the end, it's like a surprise. There's a girl and there's a woman, and like this is gonna be like a controversy because there's a woman there. Yeah. Like they make you think it's gonna be like this dramatic bad thing, and he lies and all this stuff, and she ends up being the most delightful, wonderful.
She's fantastic. She's gonna be their egg donor. Obviously.
The women ride or dies. The women
they're so well written, and they're
perfect,
complex and beautiful.
She knows so much about sports. It's like so amazing.
She's perfect. She's perfect for Shane Ilya. She's perfect for Ilya if Ilya didn't love Shane. Like that's the thing, is like she's perfect for him.
As is Rose, right? To Shane. Like that's what this makes those characters so great.
Yeah.
I feel like the only time Svetlana doesn't read Ilya right is like in that party after the Olympics when she like reintroduces Ilya to the coach's son. And like clearly Ilya was not in that headspace. Like he was not vibing that. And I was like, why did she put them together like that?
Maybe
I think she wanted him to be happy. She knew he wasn't happy. And that was providing happiness for him in the past. Yeah. So I think it was her attempt to try to make him happy.
She didn't know about Jane as much, right?
She didn't know about Jane much. Yeah.
When do you think she fully knows about Jane?
She sees a text.
Yeah, but that's later.
They're in the car. I don't know what episode is it. They're in the car, and she makes a comment about Jane.
But didn't she say at that time that they had been texting for a long time or something?
Yeah.
Same way I think like Hayden has recognized that Shane is texting Jane. I'm right, or Lily. I forget who Lily. One's name is code name is.
It's who. Ilya, Lily, Shane, Jane.
Okay.
Oh my God, I didn't get that until now.
I did not get that either. Holy shit. But
one point, Rachel Rubin.
Bow to the judges.
Nice dismount. No, I think that Svetlana is perfect in every way. And it's still not like you can't, it's the whole like Shane can't not be gay. Like she's perfect. And Ilya's like, maybe, spoiler alert, maybe we should get married because it seems reasonable. But no,
she is. That's such a good point. She's perfect. She's the perfect woman. She likes sports. She's smoking hot. She'll have sex with him and doesn't care that he has sex with other people. She doesn't even care that he's gay.
She sells fancy cars. She sells fancy cars. He loves fancy cars.
She's the perfect woman, and like he still loves the neurodivergent, like boring hockey player.
Yeah,
right. Like he just
like you can't make a good romance around a relationship that's too easy. And even if even if he wasn't in love with Shane, it's like that can't be a story. Like it's not a story. It would be too fucking boring.
Especially
like
for
we
Ilya.
wouldn't care.
I noticed a lot about the filming that I appreciated is they spend a lot of time having beautiful lighting, and these men are oiled and sweaty. Like we get to appreciate a man for his body in a way that we don't get to appreciate men's bodies in most media. And like it's usually like a bicep and their face, right? But like here, like we've got chest, we've got back, we've got butt, we've got face, we've got like
a lot of like underwear shots.
Many men taking off clothes. Right,
and folding
them. How often do men like
that? Is so nerdy. Oh my God, when he does that.
But we don't see that. We see women take off clothes, but we don't see men take off clothes.
You don't always see them folding the clothes. What was so cute about the folding the clothes? I actually wrote this down because, of course, I took notes when I did a reheat this morning. So when there's folding the clothes, you see Ilya watch him, and smile in a way that reminds you that like the person that you are meant to be with loves you for your weird quirks, loves you for the ridiculousness, loves you for those things. So like, don't hide them, because your human is meant to like see those and like those. And the more you're you and the more they like you, the more it's like a good fit. And you start to see it where Ilya is like so into those things, and like that's what drives him.
So beautiful.
And the boring
that's
stuff,
a really
like,
cute scene.
Yes.
Like I love the boring stuff coming out, right? Where he says, I've been reading New Yorker, and he goes, that's boring. Oh, is genetic boring? You know, are you genetically boring? Like, it's
he's like,
so
my dad
sweet.
loves that. He loves to read it. It's funny.
So cute. So beginning of episode 2, we're in 2011. They're running in Montreal and Moscow, texting each other. And then fall 2012, they haven't connected yet. Now it's 2013. I think episode 2, not quite as much as that. Like episode 1 is like years, right? And episode 2 is still a very long period of time. So we got 2013. Now they're captains. Montreal wins 4-3 over Boston. Ilya comes over to Shane's house. And when they're kissing there, I calculated it's been 2 years and they have sex. So episode 2 is we're calling sex anal sex here. Like the blowjobs didn't count as sex, so we're kind of being a little cliched. But like they met in 2008, and now according to my calculations, it's 2013, soon to be 2014, because Sochi Olympics happens right after they have sex, or fast forward to Sochi Olympics. It's been so long, and I think that's what people talk about with this show is like the longing of like the waiting, the anticipation. Like this is a very the whole show I think is 11 years, they say.
I think it's also though to say they start as teenagers, right? Like technically I think they're not even both 18 technically in the story when they start the show. And just to say, I think when you're like that young, we forget, since we're all like in our 40s, I think all of us, right? Like there is a lot more latency when you're young with progression of things. Like
that's a great point.
I forgot that.
Yeah. Like my first boyfriend, I was dating him for, years before we had sex, which now is unimaginable. What?
I said, I hope he's listening.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he's not listening.
Not sure he's a top fan of the You Are Not Broken podcast.
But maybe he's listening. I don't know. We haven't talked in many years. But yeah, now like the thought of that would be insane.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point, right? And I actually talk to my patients about this a lot. So I take care of a lot of male veterans, and they're complaining about their erectile dysfunction, and you're talking to them, and they're like, "Well, we don't do anything because I can't get perfect erections. We don't hold hands, we don't kiss, we don't cuddle, we don't go in the same bed, we don't orgasm together." And I was like, "Do you not remember being 13 and you were not guaranteed penetration, and how much fun it was just to like caress someone and make out and hug and kiss and like touch genitals? Like, can you remember that?" And they all sort of look at me and they're like, "Oh yeah," they like feel it in their body. They're like, "Oh yeah, that was great. Like, I remember that." And you're like, go do that tonight. Like, go do that. Like, stop being miserable.
Sitting on a couch watching a movie and like the millimeters of like inching towards each other.
Well, that was like the beach scene with their hands, like the foot taps, like the selfie on the TV, and his hand goes down, and you're like, yeah, it does. Like you feel that, you feel those moments.
Or if you've ever been in a friend group where you were attracted to somebody, but like it hadn't been directly communicated yet, and you spent like time physically like near them,
and it like radiates. It like
yes, like.
We forget all of that stuff.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Yes,
like we just go straight to the genitals now. Like we're stupid.
We got other things to do. We got a busy schedule.
I have a mortgage.
I know. I know.
Okay, so I made an Instagram once about like how we should stop having such boring sex all the time, and people are so having lazy sex, you know, and to get out of it. And one of the moms from school sort of pulled me over, you know, at the soccer field, and she goes, "Stop fucking talking about lazy sex. I like the lazy sex that I'm having. Like, please, like, don't give my husband any ideas. I want to be lazy." And I was like, it's a great point. I totally get it.
I remember actually a patient of mine was into doing tantric sex, and he came to me and he's like, I have erectile dysfunction because I'm supposed to have this 8-hour long tantric sex, and I can't maintain that long. And I was like, what are you doing? Yeah. I was like, an erection that lasts 8 hours needs to go to the emergency room.
Dude, get a job.
I've had that patient too. They're like, we can only have sex for 4 hours now.
Who has that much time?
Get a job.
I'm like, tone it down, sir. I'm like, you are.
So we didn't talk about the data. We sort of alluded to this. So Dr. Gonzalez or Winter, can you please tell the audience the data of what is the average amount of time a man takes from, you know, sort of penetration to orgasm or from stimulation to orgasm?
I'm like, you didn't ask me, and I literally just made this slide for teaching at Harvard. Like, I literally just made this slide this week.
Go ahead, Dr.
Put me in, coach.
Go.
So, median 5.4 minutes.
Correct.
Varies by country.
Correct.
With some countries,
America's about 7 minutes.
America's kind of in the middle.
USA.
But then if you flip
what's Russia? Yeah, what's Russia?
You think it's related to circumcision?
IELT Russia.
I can look it up on my PowerPoint because I have the graph on my
Russia.
PowerPoint because it's right next to the graph of how long does if a woman is to have an orgasm by vaginal penetration, how long does it take? And it takes about 13 or 14 minutes median, right? So like it never matches up is the whole point. And so then my question for Dr. Gonzalez is, do they have the same data looking at intra-anal latency time?
No, not that I'm aware of. No, most of our metrics. Well, most of the metrics in sexual medicine is penovaginal sex.
Yeah. We got to change that.
Yeah.
Did you? I
mean, even the definition of it's intravaginal ejaculatory latency time, or premature ejaculation is defined by vaginal penetration. So,
well, I have a question. So if you're saying now, and I can't remember if it was last episode or this episode because it's like freaking midnight where I live. When you have anal sex, like how often does the actual orgasm happen within the canal versus outside versus like, you know, does that variable or is it not variable?
Yeah, on the people that are having the sex, and like, but I think that's the goal for a lot of people is to have it inside.
Like the preference would be intra-anal.
So one of the things that sort of has come up is sort of you were asking about the scripts for gay sex, right? Straight sex, you watch movies, you watch porn, all of this stuff. Like the idea of it with gay sex, you have to communicate who's doing what, who's putting what where, what are you comfortable? Mm-hmm. There's a little bit more communication, I would say, potentially. Mm-hmm. Like, what would you say about that? Like, do you find that gay men are better at communicating than?
Oh, I mean, they'll be pretty open about wanting it inside, saying like, oh, I want your load, like that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, in our representations in porn, a lot of times because you want to see the ejaculate, they will do it outside for the cameras. But I think in the real world, there's a lot of people that are obsessed with being ejaculated inside.
So dirty talk, right? So we kind of get a little bit of dirty talk, right, from Shane and Ilya, right? Mm-hmm. Get on the floor, suck my dick, all of this, kind of very erotic language. People, I find straight people want to start playing with dirty talk, but maybe don't know how. They don't feel comfortable. It's very awkward and feels strange. Do you find that the dirty talk in the show is more like romance novel erotica, or sort of more in line with real life?
No, I think it's in line with real life. I think that they're probably because gay sex involves two men, there's less. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys could speak to this more than me, but I think that in heterosexual couples, sometimes there's a reservation to use language like that because it can come off as degrading to women, right? If the man is saying that, is that denigrating their female partner? I think there's like a concern there where I don't think you really get that in a man-to-man sexual situation. Like, you can be filthy, you could be nasty, and not worry about like, you know, are you denigrating that person?
I think in heterosexual relationships, they're like, what shocks me is that it's not talked about more of the power dynamics just based upon how women are treated in the world and how men are treated in the world. And then you have a heterosexual relationship, which the power dynamics of the world are in the bedroom, they're in the kitchen, they're, you know, whatever, who pays the taxes. And it's like, we never talk about it. Like, it doesn't exist. And the other big thing is like safety. Right? Of like, when you look at Shane and Ilya, like, they're very safe with each other. Nobody's going to share any secrets. Nobody's going to kiss and tell. Nobody's going to go tell Svetlana how steamy Thursday was, right? Like, Shane's not going to call Ilya a whore, right? Like, it's such a safe container, which is maybe so beautiful to see. And I think especially for heterosexual relationships where safety is a legitimate concern, but nobody talks about not feeling safe.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
and
I
killed the conversation with that. What? Nobody has
it was so deep.
All my sexual traumas
deep
with straight men. So yes, I went to a place of, because I think who of us doesn't have, I don't know,
have those experiences. Like, I think the communication, it's such an interesting thing. You know, I think one of my disappointments about straight men refusing to watch this show is the lack of curiosity and interest of why is this so important to straight women, and what can we as straight men learn from this in how we have conversations around intimacy, around sex. You know, I know many straight men who are getting laid significantly more because of the show, but it doesn't give them that, like, wait, I want to watch it to find out how I can capitalize on this even more, right? Like, is there even more I can learn from it? And I think that goes in line with sort of that curiosity of, what does my partner actually like? Well, I don't want to actually ask them because that's too awkward. So I'm just going to keep like, I'm still going to touch different parts of it until I you know, until something kind of lands. I don't know. I think that's
I think it's fair.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just think it's like the way we, on a societal level, allow men to be sexual beings. We just like do not, it's just too rigid. Like, women are allowed to find women with other women erotic. And there's this idea that if you're a straight man, you're not allowed to find men being with men erotic. And it's a double standard. And one of these places where it's actually men have like more discrimination in terms of how they're allowed to like view sex in some way. Like, I think men are afraid. I think that's what it is. But I don't know.
They've done research on this.
Straight men on this podcast.
Like,
yeah.
Correct me. Like, it's been a while since I've looked at this, but like, they basically strap penises up to, you know, meters of rigidity, and then they stick like moisture sensors in vaginas, and then they have different people of different aspirations watch different erotica, right? The whole point. But the whole point, if I'm remembering this data properly, is like the heterosexual men are literally like only turned on by heterosexual erotica. Women are turned on by everything.
We're animals.
We're turned on by everything. And then the homosexual men, again, if I'm remembering correctly, they're more turned on by homosexual erotica, certainly more than the gay men are. But really, like, there's something about, or the straight men, there's something about the straight men where like, it doesn't actually turn them on. Whereas women are like, yeah, anything that we're good with it all.
I just don't believe it. I just not believe it. I just like, how could you watch that show and also and not find it hot?
I mean, well, I think, yeah. And I think like, it's so culturally specific, right? Like all the things that we know about sort of like ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and how like that was just like a part of growing up, right? Like, you had sex with men. It didn't necessarily mean that you had to identify as being homosexual, and men would sleep with each other all the time. But I think that's obviously changed and not the same way in our culture now.
Well, you have to think about it. If you've been socialized your whole life to not be gay, don't be gay, don't find that arousing. Like, if you're sitting in a research room in Cincinnati and they strap this onto your penis, like, can you suppress that?
Yeah.
The women can't, though. The women are like, everything turns us on.
The prostate is an erogenous zone regardless of sexual orientation, right? And so like, to me, I feel like if men weren't socialized to be so scared to watch this and experience this with intrigue, they would see a man getting his prostate stimulated through anal penetration and find that extraordinarily erotic, because most straight men want to be pegged. Let's be honest. Like that is a thing. Like it's true. Anyway. And so I think that there's something in there for them that's very like that they could viscerally experience, even if it's not identifying with being with a man. It's saying like,
yeah,
oh my God, I can see this manly person having this erogenous zone stimulated that I don't usually see somebody who kind of looks like me being stimulated and vulnerable in this way. I think that could be profoundly erotic, but I don't, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think one thing I was going to say too, that I think is, and this came across more for me in episode 30 where we meet Kip and his relationship with Scott. Like, but it does translate to Ilya and Shane's relationship too, is that there's this constant like balance between like the dirty talk and like the sexually explicit talk. Like specifically in episode 3 where they're having this sort of romantic morning after, I'm making you a smoothie because I want to show you how much I care about you. And then he like picks Kip up and just says, can I fuck you? Like, and he's like, absolutely. And then they go and have sex and then they come back and the next scene is them actually drinking the smoothies, right? But there's this like constant back and forth between like romantic love and affection that these men are not afraid, at least in that relationship. I think Ilya and Shane, it takes them a while to get there, but like in that relationship where they're not afraid to be vulnerable with each other, to show each other affection and also be a little dirty with each other. And I think that could be like a good like lesson for a lot of straight men to follow, right? You can be both like hypersexual and tell your female partner that you want to like fuck their brains out and also make them a smoothie right after, you know? And
yes.
Can we make a PS? Like, it's so good what you just said. And I think that's part of, I think what women want and what men think that women, like, I think there's a disconnect. And I actually think it's not that far apart that men cannot be, women want that, like that sexual, want to be desired, want those words, but also need the intimate sort of kindness and the sweetness, right, as well.
I think it's how I've been explaining it is women want to be desired and they don't want to be used. And it can be a fine line for people who haven't figured out how to navigate that of like, I want you, but I don't just need you as a whole.
Well, there's a respect, right? There's a respect and like a carnal desire, and then like a respect that comes with that, and a love, right? Like
like I want you for you, not because I just need to have an orgasm, but I would like to have an orgasm with you, right? Like it's like women deeply want to be desired. Our society puts it all over billboards that like to be the woman is to be the desired person. Like we want that. And we hear from women so often, I feel used. I'm just doing this for him because he just wants it. Like it's a very like, it's not like, oh yeah, he's desiring me and it's awesome, right? Like there's that disconnect there.
How come like ghosting, right? Like in the show, I guess, because we're not seeing it over years and years, like how come there's not that sort of feeling of he didn't answer my text for 6 months, I was ghosted, like he doesn't like me. So women do this thing all the time, right? Where it's like, oh, he didn't write back for this many days, right? There's this whole undercurrent of like, does he like me? Doesn't he like me? This agony, this ruminating, this like, you know, sort of like frustration that happens with these texting games. And yet it doesn't come through in this, this book.
Movie. I mean, I will say again, from like listening to the audio book of this early part of the series, they tell you more about like Shane's inner monologue where he's like telling himself like, oh, he's going to try and go back to just being with women. And he is trying to navigate that and say, like, was this just a fluke? I can be with women. I'm going to like, that will make my life easier. I'm going to try it maybe. And so I think for him personally, he's not like, yes, he's having these intense moments and this beautiful intimacy with Ilya, but then he's not going to be hanging on Ilya's words and like demanding, hey, text me back, because he's wanting to make this not a part of himself. At least that's what, and I think it becomes more of an issue, like, after the Olympics and stuff, but at least early on.
Well, and I think we see this. So it's Sochi winter 2014, and then it's summer 2014. They're at the award show together, and they're presenting that award together. And then again, Ilya just knows where Shane is, and he's in this like random, completely empty bathroom. And Ilya comes in, and Shane
with dirty floors,
with very dirty floors,
dirty
and they're
floors.
in tuxedos, and which they probably own and don't rent. And so Shane confronts him in the bathroom, and he says, "You haven't answered a text for me in like 6 months."
Yeah.
So like there is a buildup and a like, what the fuck are we at this point? And he says, "What do you want from me?"
And he's so hurt, and then he's like, "Please, just get on this floor and please."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Dude, we got to get back out to the award ceremony because one of us is going to win MVP."
But in 2009, 2010, right, Shane is still trying to be like, maybe I cannot be gay. And so he's not as hurt about the standoffishness because he's hoping for it almost.
Yeah, I mean, Shane's full on in, like at this point, because spring 2014, so this is, right before the award season, Montreal is watching Boston win the cup. And Shane gets teary. Like for some reason, like all of his teammates have left Hayden's living room, because so Boston boring. Fucking won. And then like Shane gets teary, like he's in. Like I think he loves Ilya at this point. And then he gets very pissed because like you don't fucking like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Rachel, let's go back to what you were talking about for the last episode. You were talking about like prescribing Heated Rivalry to patients to watch, for them to learn and to understand. I mean, what we hear on social media is women will say that doctors just go watch porn, as like kind of a dismissal of how to help them sexually. And I think when doctors say that and it comes across as flip, you're putting her out there in a world of like a bunch of shitty porn. And plus they don't really want to watch porn because it's got a stereotype, but actually giving them Heated Rivalry, like a curated story full of safety, no power dynamics, no women's being abused. Like it's a very different thing than just kind of flippantly having a doctor be like, go watch porn, which comes across very dismissive to a lot of women.
I think Heated Rivalry is an incredible thought piece that gets people thinking about their own sexuality and what turns them on and what is sexuality and what is libido and what is desire and what makes us, what makes us want. And I think it's just such an incredible, like I tell people to watch it because I want to have conversations with them about it, about what they think. I think we can diagnose low libido in people who feel nothing for this show, right? Like you definitely have HSTD.
If HR didn't do anything for you,
then you might have HSTD. Take Addie. I told Cindy, I was like, you should take Addie. You should take Addie if you don't like Heated Rivalry.
If this is just gray.
So I think it's so important. But I had this one interaction that actually really speaks to how important it is for doctors to talk about things like this. So I said, I take care of veterans, and I had this veteran woman in my office, and she had military sexual trauma and PTSD and sort of everything all of my military patients have. And she's an African-American woman, and she was sitting there, we were talking about perimenopause and hormones and all of these things. And we went over all of it. And I said, oh my gosh, have you heard about this amazing new show, Heated Rivalry? So she said, oh, I think I've seen, people talk about it, but what is it? So I explained to her what it is. And she looked at me and she said, Dr. Rubin, she goes, one time I saw gay porn and I really liked it. And I never told anyone ever before because I thought there was something disgusting about me. And I looked at her and I said, oh, girl, you're so normal. Like, this is like amazing. The whole world is talking about this. It's in the New York Times. It's in the Washington Post. It's literally everywhere. It's viral. Women love gay porn. And here's why. We had a long conversation about it. And the air got lighter because she felt like there was something wrong with her. Like she was disgusting or morally problematic. And she left being like, oh no, I'm totally normal. And I'm going to go watch this show and talk about it with my friends. And I loved that for her. And I think we see this in the exam room all the time. This is where your clitoris is. This is your pelvic floor. This is where you should put the vibrator so that you have orgasms. This is why you're not orgasming with penetration. This is why your libido is low. It's biology that your gas tank is empty. You have no hormones in your body. You have no dopamine. You're so busy with all the stressful things. Like explaining to women sort of their lived experiences and giving them that validation. I didn't realize how much that was medicine. And it is so medical. And so like giving Heated Rivalry as a sort of a prescription, I am not going to apologize for that. I think it's so fun.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect because it's so well curated and it's so safe. And like, you're not like, hey, go out and Wild West this on your own and crowdsource and figure out porn. Like you're putting them in a very safe landed place, and then you're like, and come back and we're going to talk about it. Right? It's not dismissive at all.
So to that end, I think something that's been so revolutionary and such a moment about this is the fact that this is very explicit, and it's a phenomenon that everybody is openly talking about, because traditionally porn is lonely, right? It's like what you're doing to masturbate. It's what you do. People often associate with shame or having a lack of a partner or an addiction, or think, like erotic portrayals are fundamentally considered a lonely thing. And this is something that's very erotic, and everybody's coming together about it as a community. And I think
women are like renting out bars to like watch this with like big groups of girlfriends.
Like, I guess what I mean is we should start assigning like a monthly porn that people watch.
Wait, this is
and
my
get
idea.
Together.
This is my idea. Smutty book club. Yes. I want to do smutty book club with a sex therapist.
Yeah.
So that we get a sex therapist to talk to about smutty book club, and like really like do you want to start it? Because you could do it, Ashley, because I don't have time.
Let's do it.
Yes, great.
Yes,
okay, smutty book club.
Like,
done.
We all need to we need to watch porn and like debrief about it. That's what we
Well, this was really fun. We were at Kelly, we were at ISWISH, the Women's Sexual Health Conference, and I made everyone come to my room and watch Heated Rivalry, and it was urologists, internal medicine, gynecology, psychiatry, and sex therapy, and a basic scientist. And we were all in the room together watching, and the conversation,
and a vibrator,
and a vibrator inventor,
the vibrator
manufacturer.
Creator.
Yeah. So it was like so amazing because so many people were looking at it from their lenses, and yet it was this shared joy. It was really fun. Everyone should come to ISWISH. It's the best conference ever.
Yes.
I love it. Well, yeah, just real quick on what The Economist said about Heated Rivalry. So it was the second most streamed show in the world at the time of The Economist writing. And mostly like heterosexual women made this huge because we're a huge demographic. It was huge in Russia, which is stereotypically pretty homophobic.
Yeah.
And 1/3 of people watched it more than one time. 1/5 of people watched it like more than 4 or 5 times.
How many times have you watched? You said you've watched it 4 times.
I'm on my 4th. Yeah.
This is my 4th go around.
This is my 3rd. You guys are watching more than me. I have.
I've only watched it twice. I haven't even watched it.
Only.
But you've done the audiobooks.
Yeah, you did the audiobooks.
You did.
So I tell you, the one on, because if you have Spotify premium subscription, you can listen to the audiobook. But the guy, I don't know who he is. I'm sorry to be judgmental, but I dislike the person reading it. Like, he does a phony Russian thing when he does Ilya's voice, and then he does this like. But
they should re-record
it. Would it be better if a woman read it?
Like Shane's mom, and it's like awful. Like,
would it be better if a woman
just
read
have Connor Stories do it all?
Right?
Yeah, well, that would be great, I'm sure. But like, it's like this dude being like, Shane's mom, and you're like, just read it straight. Just read it straight. Don't do a falsetto fucking voice for like a Shane's
Kelly,
mom. Anyway,
you were asking about whether or not you should release all of these at once versus sprinkle them in. And so, there's always the chance that if we do sprinkle it and people can kind of tell us the things they want to talk about, the things they want to hear about, we could take audience sort of like questions and commentary, but also that'll get overwhelming as well. But obviously you're in charge.
Okay. I love it. We'll think about it. I mean, you guys have to pinky swear that we're going to do 3, 4, 5, and 6 then.
We're best friends. Why would we not do that?
It's gonna happen.
It only gets better.
Girl. That's like, she's the hero.
I love her. Like, I love
Hayden sucks. Hayden sucks, but the women are all awesome, right? Like,
Rachel's gonna get a T-shirt.
I'm
Hayden
so
sucks.
anti-Hayden.
Watch
And
HR.
like, girl.
The only like
girl.
The only redeemable straight man in the whole show is Kip's dad.
Who is the best?
Who is just best. I know, that's what I'm saying. He's like
so
the only good straight person in the show.
How do you know he's straight?
Oh, well, that's true. That is true. We don't know that
that's
he's
a good point. That's a good
point.
There's
never a mom around.
That's true. That's true.
He's very emotionally in tune.
Way to be heteronormative, Josh.
Just because he didn't give you a secret look.
I know, right?
Doesn't mean we don't know.
So good.
Girl.
So good.
I don't think it's known that Kip's dad is straight.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just assumed.
Okay, Shane's dad is not a bad guy. And
he's not a bad character.
He's not.
He's from Nip Tuck. He's from Nip Tuck.
I do remember him.
Was a sexy show in its day.
I remember that show. Very well.
A lot of childhood memories of that show, making
Nip Tuck.
Do you remember Nip Tuck?
I never watched
Christian Troy was the.
There was like threesomes in that show that like sort of
was it about, I thought it was about plastic surgeons or something.
Yep.
Oh yeah, who had a lot of sex with their patients. Yeah.
Oh, that would not get produced these days. It's not okay.
Yeah, it was not appropriate.
You know who produced that show?
Not appropriate.
Ryan Murphy. That was like one of his first big shows before Glee. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That like made him.
Girl.
Okay, so let's wrap up this episode, season 2. We've got summer 2014 awards they present together. And then they have Ross wins the MVP. They have sex in an amazing penthouse. You're in a fucking penthouse.
They drag the chair.
They drag the chair. Well, because Shane's like, there's too many windows. I'm like, you're in a penthouse in Vegas. Nobody's looking up here. But so what it was very, very sweet was after they have sex, Shane is talking to Roz about if he even likes Russia. And I think it's the beginning of Ilya. Like, and Ilya doesn't know it yet, but it's like Ilya had never thought if Russia was going to be in his future or not. Like, he was just so aligned with it. And it was like the beginning of the fracture of that. And the beginning of Shane actually being like, how do you feel? Right? Like, do you even like Russia? And I think up till then, Ilya like hadn't considered if liking Russia was a thing he was able to do. Right? Like, and so I thought that was very, very sweet. And then it goes to, he's figuring out what to text him in the elevator, and he says, we didn't even kiss.
Yeah.
So they were just fucking.
Yeah.
Like, so they were just fucking, they were not kissing, and then Shane tries to get emotionally connected with asking about Russia, and then he texts, we didn't even kiss, and then he deletes it, and then end of episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then
but I think to your point, that was his way of creating intimacy that was lost with the lack of kissing, right?
There wasn't any kissing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was his attempt.
Which is okay sometimes. Let's just be real. It's okay sometimes.
Yeah.
But Shane really wanted to kiss.
You eat something that tastes gross.
Ilya, us watching Ilya watch Shane. Like, Ilya was so hot in him wanting.
Mm-hmm.
And the lighting and the like oily skin.
The moonlight on the abs.
Vodka. They make alcohol look glamorous.
I was watching something where somebody was giving feedback of the show and was saying, like, complaining that it was like creating unrealistic expectations of the bodies. And I'm like, can we just have this nice shiny thing? Like, can we just like?
Can we talk for a second?
Can we objectify men for once, please?
Can 23-year-olds be hot? Exactly. Like, can 23-year-olds please be allowed to be hot? Because
Yeah.
Youth.
Exactly. Like,
you've got so many decades of objectifying women. Right. Can't we objectify a man for just a minute?
Right. Exactly. Like,
I fully support.
Fully support. Watched where there's like a dumpy man and a hot wife, and you're just like, let me just have this thing. Like, it's this nice shiny thing. I'm gonna just have this thing. And like,
I know they've been oiled, and I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. Give me all my unrealistic expectations and objectify bodies, and I'm so here for it in this moment.
But that's what again, it's very animalistic. Like, again, this concept of we are animals who get turned on by these animalistic things, and it's not logical. It doesn't make any sense all the time. And like, we can't logic our way through it sometimes. Like the
I
emotions,
love it when Rachel Rubin says
the
that.
biology, the feelings. It's just awesome.
I love all of it too. Any parting words for the end of episode 2?
We didn't even kiss.
Girl.
Stay tuned for episode 3 when completely different shit happens.
Oh, that's the best anybody's looked in their own sweat. Season 3. I mean, episode 3. Like, how did they do that? How did they put him in like a long sleeve shirt that like showed so much muscle? Like,
Under Armour.
It was like,
I think it was Under Armour brand.
Exquisitely done. I know, but like, come on.
Under Armour stock goes up like, by a bunch of heterosexual women buying
Scott Hunter.
buying Under Armour
and
for
the
their
fact
men.
that he's like, what his like French name in real life is like even hotter.
Francois
like Arnaud.
Francois.
Yeah.
He lived in France. He lived in France in the summers growing up with his dad. I saw a video.
I saw a video.
Stop it.
Well, if you could have told me, like in urology training, that I'd be hanging out podcasting about erotica with amazing other urologists, I'd be like, sign me up for this life, because it's just the best thing ever. All in the name of educating the general population.
That's right.
Yeah.
Girl.
Thank you, friends. Until next time, watch Heated Rivalry.
Bye.
Bye.